What up, fish tank people? FishTankTV.com. Dustin's Fish Tanks bringing it to you on a Sunday, baby. How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. So as you all know that are following me on both Instagram and Facebook, I've got a koi problem, and yes, I have a neon tetra problem. If you aren't following me on Instagram or Facebook, go ahead and do that now, okay? So in the 220, my ultimate goal is to have a ton of neon tetras in there. You can see behind me here, I got about 300 neon tetras I got from my boys at Imperial Tropicals that I'm getting ready to put in the 220. But today, I want to tell you a story about why they're not going in there anytime soon. But it's Sunday. It's schooling species Sunday. I got not one, but two species of schooling fish to talk to you about at the end of this. But here it goes. The other day, I went over to my boy Bryan's house. At the end of the video, I actually say I was having a terrible day. Well, here's why. The 220 was full of about 100 neon tetras. I noticed a little bit of white spots on them. Now look, neons are a little bit more sensitive. If you see a little bit of white spots, a little bit, it happens. You just got to take appropriate action. So I called up Bryan. I'm like, Bryan, I got this. What would you do? I was going to raise temps. He goes, I bet your KH is low. I checked my carbonate hardness. KH is the amount of calcium in the water. It affects the buffering capacity. When your KH is low, the buffering capacity of your water allows for higher pH swings. So when your KH is low, your pH can swing. pH swings are terrible. I don't want to get too into it, but basically a pH of 7, which is neutral water, versus a pH of 6. This pH of 6 going down is 10 times more acidic than the pH of 7. So like a pH of 5 would be 10 times more acidic than a pH of 6 and so on. So anyway, these pH swings are bad for fish. So I'm tripping out. I got my neon, so I'm like, all right, first things first, we got to do a big water change. So I go and I do about a 50% water change on the fish. I don't think anything of it. I know what I'm doing. I use a lot of dechlorinator. I do the big water changes. A couple of hours later, I look and I see one of my long fin plecos like roughing around, looking not so hot. And I think, that's odd. A little bit later, I find one of my used to be awesome, now is dead Ancestress plecos from my man Chuck Bramer dead. So I think something's up. This is ruining my day, all right? Why am I killing fish? I know what I'm doing. Here is what happened, and let this be a lesson to you all. Thursday night, I go on, I do my free live webinar on Substrate. You can click the link and check that out. It's a nice long webinar entirely about Substrate. When I get off the webinar, I look at my phone. It has missed call twice from Bryan, then a text. Fish emergency, please help. Okay, I will drop what I am doing 99.9% of the times to help Bryan Campbell. Straight up, he's my #1 fish tank dude, and I know a lot of fish tank people. I would love to help him. I call him back, I say, what's up? He goes, dude, you're not gonna believe this. The hospital tank that I set up at the Central Baptist Hospital is killing fish left and right. I go, dude, holy cow. He proceeds to tell me that the rainbows that he put in there were gasping all of a sudden. The Demisoni barbs he had are gasping all of a sudden. And he ended up killing about half the fish in the tank. Some of the other fish were fine. The exact same thing, and the exact same thing that the fish were doing in my aquarium, okay? So I thought, oh, it was me doing too big of a water change. I swing too much up. No. It was our water, folks. We both had bad water. Now, look, I'm upset that Bryan killed fish. Obviously, I'm upset about my own fish, but I do feel a little bit better about what's going on in the water because it wasn't just me. It was the water coming out of the tap in our city here. So my advice to you today, if you can take away one thing from this whole video, is, folks, double, triple, quadruple the amounts of prime, Declor. I'm using the stuff fraction from our friends at Continuum. Use a ton of it. Now be careful, that stuff does start attacking oxygen once it gets through all the chlorines and chloramines. But if you have well oxygenated water, dose a ton of it because you never know what's going to be coming out of your tap water. So that was a terrible fish tank fail. I do feel a little bit better that Bryan killed fish, and he did as well, knowing that it wasn't us and it was the water coming out of tap. But folks, you got to protect yourself with that stuff. And if anybody knows of any good chlorine blocks or like inline systems to use, please drop me a comment. So look, I'm not trying to bring a downer video to you all on Sunday. It's Sunday. It's schooling fish Sunday. I got 300 neon tetras behind me here. I want to correlate this back to what I just talked about. These suckers are out here for a reason. One, I want to make sure my water in Lexington is better. Two, I got to make sure that the tank in the basement is cleaned up. So I got to go in there and do a bunch of water change and everything before I add these. I'm slowly going to add the neon tetras. But notice, you'll see right here the cinder block. Now, why are these tetras fine and the ones in the base are not? Here's the thing. This cinder block is a big old cinder block. It's a bunch of calcium in the cinder block is slowly being released into this. I checked the KH on this tank. Because of this unsightly cinder block, the KH in this tank runs right around 5 DKH, 70, 80 KH or whatever in the reading, which is perfect for neon tetras. I don't think I've lost one of them out here, but my show tank, my 220 that I want to show you guys with 300 neon tetras in it, has a low KH and it's had all kinds of problems, so go figure. Alright, so let's talk about some schooling fish. Behind me here, I've got 300 neon tetras. Up in here in the 125, you can see I've got my Bosemani. I finally got the Bosemani separated out. Now, here's the thing. I get asked about 50 times a day, maybe even 100, what type of fish should I get, Dustin? Everybody does this from beginner, at least a lot of people do. And listen, you do your tanks for you. You're watching Dustin's Fish Tanks. I do this stuff for me. Y'all just get to be watching. This is how I like to do it, okay? So do your tanks. But here's what's up. Most people go to the pet store and they're looking for fish. And they say, oh, those are cool, but those are cool too. And those are cool too, and they get 2 of those, and 2 of those, and 2 of those, and 2 of those. Just like the old story in the Bible where the guy Moses gets a warning from God that there's going to be a big flood and grab 2 of each creature, put them on the ark, and then release them later or whatever. You know the story of Noah's Ark. So Noah's Ark style of keeping fish, you get them home, you got 2 of this tetra, 2 of this tetra, 2 of this cory cat, 2 of that, blah, 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 and you got 2. I'm a firm believer. I'd rather see somebody, even if it's a 5 or a 10 gallon, I'd rather see you have 10 neon tetras in a 10 gallon than like 2 rummy nose, 2 of this, 2 of that. I just think it looks better. Here's a couple points on it. One, when you're mixing fish, there's a good chance that there's going to be a more dominant species in the tank, okay? So that fish is just going to outcompete the other fish for the food or whatever. It's also going to be more rambunctious, so you're not going to get those more natural behaviors out of the fish, okay? They're probably going to outcompete them for food, or they're just going to make them like more shy, more skittish, whatever. And the third thing is, when you have fish in a better schooling environment of all one type of species, it's dependent on the species, you probably have a better chance of breeding them. I've got plenty more videos coming up about schooling fish, as well as my continued koi problem and a pretty sick 75 in-wall setup I just set up the other day. You can check that out on Instagram and Facebook. So if you like what I'm doing, subscribe, drop me a comment on what you want me to do videos about. Everybody have a fabulous freaking week. Later.